Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Tom's Corner, where you can hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Topic lesson today. I have went over this lesson, prior lessons, and I spoke about it. But I decided to go a little bit deeper for you, and let's start now. And the topic title is, was the flood sent because of fallen angels and sin? That's the topic. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Number 2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Now, in those two verses, some Christians believe it is referring to the sons of Seth. Note in the previous verse, it spoke, now in other words, the prior verses before this one, note in the previous verses, it spoke of the lineage of the men from Adam all the way down to Noah. They gave their first name, all the way down to Noah. Now, by speaking each one's name, okay? But in verse 2, no lineage was spoken of, not from Seth or Enoch or any of the others. Now, but does tell you in Luke chapter 3, verse 38, it says in reference to lineage this, which was the son of Enos, or Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. Okay, now, the Bible does refer in many places that the angels were referred to as the sons of God. In those days, and even today, you do not just go and take a woman. There is a formality you go by to get a wife. Some people give a dowry and so forth and so on, especially over in Africa, you have to give to the dad or the father and the mother there something to obtain that daughter. Now note that there was more than just one. There was more than just one angel that did this deed. It did not refer to Seth's offsprings. It clearly stated sons of God. Okay, now let's go on. All right, the book of Jude refers to the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6, which tell you the sons of God were fallen angels that left their spiritual place to become flesh on earth. Now, you heard what I said. If you can't comprehend it, back it up and go again. Read it again or watch it again. Now, Jude says in verse 6, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation. When we're talking about first estate, we're talking about the spiritual realm, okay? Which I probably go on down farther and explain that to you. And the angels kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation. He hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. In other words, they're kept bound into the earth in darkness unto the day. And the question is why? Why did it do this to these particular angels? Because God has it set up. There are boundaries in His Word. You cannot transgress and go past that boundary. Otherwise, you disrupt everything that God has placed in motion. God will not allow this. So this is why these individuals that came from the spiritual realm to the physical realm took up daughters of the men, all that they saw, they took them. They did this, okay. Now let's go on. We're going to go a little farther and you explain a little bit more. All right, now, Yes, at times God sends angels in a fleshly form. And you know where they're at in the Bible, just like I do. All right, now, remember the ones who were sent to bring Lot out of Sodom and Gomorrah. Do you remember that? Angels. There were at least two angels. They went into the city. They stayed all night. You know the story, go on and on. Even Lot's wife was holding the hand of the angel as the angels were bringing them out of that city that God was going to destroy. And remember what happened to Lot's wife. The Bible tells you very plainly. Remember Lot's wife. What did Lot's wife do? Told him, don't look back. And that's a problem we are today. We look back too much. But anyhow, she looked back, holding an angel's hand that was in a flesh form. What happened to her? You got it right. She turned into a pillar of salt. God was through with that crazy stuff, okay? When you actually are brought out of darkness into light and you're holding the hand of an angel and all you do is turn back and long for the sin that you were in, God ain't going to deal with you. He'll bring judgment on you. You know that. Now, but these angels could not stay in this form. God has boundaries, like I just said, and rules, even for the angels. Now, the Bible tells us in Genesis 6 and 4, because of the interaction between angels that left their first estate and took to themselves women on earth who had children, which, according to the Bible, became giants and mighty men. Okay? In other words, there was a genetic alteration somewhere between what we call the fallen angels that are referred to as the sons of God and the intermixing of the fleshly women with them that became flesh. You had genetic alterations. And when you have that, absolutely Katie bar the door. That's why you had giants. And even in certain specific books tells you that these beings were actually like 14 feet, 15 feet, 30 feet high. Think about that. Now, tell you something else. In the world we're living in today, they're digging up bones that they find that are of giants. 9 feet, 10 feet. Now, you got to understand something. Back 100 years ago, even in the Civil War, where the people fought in the Civil War, people didn't get that tall. They were not very tall. In fact, to us today, and I'm 5'7", that these people were actually more or less 5'1". And you can see that in Civil War memorabilia. When you see the Confederates and so forth, you will see the uniforms, and they look like they're uniforms for children. Okay? Now, let's go on. They became giants. Yes, they did. And these fallen angels changed the genetics of mankind by interbreeding or involving themselves with the women of men. All right, this God could not tolerate, okay? Couldn't tolerate it. Thus came the flood to remove them. Noah and his wife and his son's wife were good people, and Noah did not turn from God as the others did. Notice in verse 9, it states that his generation, now notice this, the word generation, which means Adam, come on down the lineage, Adam all the way down, Seth, come on down, keep coming, down to what? From Adam down were pure. They were not tainted by fallen angels. Maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't, but you got to use your mind, open your mind. You can't, see, I think back Wesleyans and so forth, back hundreds of years ago, they were referring to Seth because they thought that was a godly lineage, okay? But you got to look at this, what happens, How the people were tainted, what caused the people to be tainted? Because God has to have that genetic lineage from Adam to the second Adam, which is Christ. It cannot be tainted. If it's tainted, it nulls and voids the Word of God. If it nulls and nulls the Word of God and makes it a lie, God's a liar. God's not a liar. That's why he had to do that. That's why he said, he repented that he even made men. Because men's hearts were continuously on evil. They were on evil. The ones that were not genetically altered between that so-called marriage agreement thing when they took of the women and men, there were a lot, because of this, that alteration went out throughout. They intermingled, married, and this is what happened to them. But there were people there that weren't tainted. But here's the problem. Basically, they did not trust in God, and their hearts and lives were on sin continuously, except for this man, Noah. Now you think, well, he was perfect in all his way. No, he's perfect in his generations. Because what happened to Noah was, when he first hit landfall, what did he do? He grew a vineyard, did he not? Yeah, what did he do? He got drunk. Doesn't sound very well like you're high elevated and walk on water, does it? Okay, I just thought I'd bring that up to you. God bless. I'll see you the next trip.